Hello, everybody. Welcome to your Saturday, January 17th live stream. So there's some news out that I took a look at, and I've been pretty bearish for quite some time, short-term bearish. We're buying Bitcoin every day. But news like this makes me more bullish and edging into something a little bit more positive. And what I'm talking about is Donald Trump. And actually, before we talk about Donald Trump and the massive amount of tariffs he's going to impose on certain countries, we need to take a look at the price action today, which I have to tell you is looking pretty good, especially with what's going on with Trump, tariffs, Greenland, and of course, the Clarity Act. And we can see that over 24 hours, Bitcoin is holding strong, almost popping up above 96K, but 95.4 right now. Last 24 hours, it's up 0.4%. 1 hour, not too bad. Actually, let me refresh this. Maybe things have already dropped out. No, I've done better. So we'll take it. Ethereum is up. BNB, I think everything's pretty much up across the board except for, well, Monero and Bitcoin Cash had a nice little run. And it's interesting because like this news that we just got just broke a couple of hours ago. I find it interesting. We had some great inflows for the Bitcoin ETF except for yesterday. 16th of January, we had an outflow of 394 million, but take it with a grain of salt because over the last week or so, we've had inflows of 116, 73, 80, 40, and 100, which is roughly around 1.4 or so billion dollars that it's inflowing. And then Ethereum for inflows for their ETF has been positive the last 5 days. So this is pretty good. And what makes me bullish is that if this would have happened a couple months ago when tariffs were going crazy, and it seemed like every time Trump would put out some information about tariff, the whole market would collapse and they would lose their marbles. Well, today, it's a little bit crazy. Market seems to be doing okay. And here's what we have. Donald J. Trump states, we have subsidized Denmark and all of the countries of the EU and others for many years by not charging them tariffs or any other forms of remuneration. And just so you know, this was, again, January 17th, 12:19 p.m. Right now, it is roughly 2:57 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. So again, roughly 2 or 3 hours ago. Now, after centuries, it is time for Denmark to give back. World peace is at stake. China and Russia want Greenland. And there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it. They currently have 2 dog sleds as protection, one added recently. Let me say that again. Denmark currently has 2 dog sleds as protection. And that's double the amount they had before. I don't know where you're from, but that's at least kind of funny. Can we admit it's kind of funny? It's a little funny. But here's where it gets good. Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, UK, Netherlands, and Finland have journeyed to Greenland for purposes unknown. So because of that, starting on February 1st, a week or so away, 2026, all of the above mentioned countries, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, UK, Netherlands, and Finland, will be charged a 10% tariff on any and all goods sent to the US of America. Of course, we know who's going to pay for that. That is going to be the industries, or the companies in America, which will pay for those tariffs. And maybe, yes or no, it may be pushed over to the retail, but we'll see. It all depends on what the companies want to do with the payments that they put in and if they're going to raise their costs. Now, that's in February. On June 1st, the tariff will be increased to 25%. This tariff will be due and payable until such time as a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland. Crazy, right? That's where we're at. And having said all that, here's what the market's doing. I would be a little bit more concerned maybe if this had been talked about Monday through Friday, normal business banking hours. But by doing so on the weekend, there's really only one market that's open 24/7, 365 when people can offload their risk, and that's in crypto and digital assets. If they read that and they were worried, I think they would have gotten out of crypto already if they haven't already gotten out as much as they possibly can. So for me, by Trump saying this and the market not dumping like crazy, that's a very bullish sign. Now, it's only been roughly 2 hours. We'll see what actually happens, but that is just one piece of the puzzle is why I am a little bit more bullish today, and that comes in the Clarity Act. So like we've talked about before, there has to be certain factors that come in. We need macroeconomic factors to push us above. We need liquidity to really push us to new levels. And it's all about regulation institutions as well. And with regulation coming down for the Clarity Act, which was supposed to be the greatest thing of all time, and it may not pass, this could be also a bigger blow. However, market remains stable. It's America. And why the Clarity Act is maybe no good? One, there's a ban on stablecoin yield, hostile DeFi regulations. They're going to turn Uniswap and any DeFi platform into a neobank where they're going to ask for KYC and AML stuff, just like your bank does. They're going to put a ban on tokenized stocks or equities, and they're going to expand the SEC authority. And because of that, there's been a lot of problems. Brian Armstrong came out just a couple of days ago or yesterday and said, I'm not going to support this bill, me or Coinbase, and essentially said, stick it. We're not going to do anything. Now, the response from the White House is as such. Alan Tourette, very good follow. She states the White House is said to be furious with Coinbase's unilateral action on Wednesday, which is it apparently was not notified of in advance. They call it a rug pull against the White House and the rest of the industry. First of all, I commend Brian Armstrong for coming in and saying, this is a bad bill. If we pass this bill, we're going to have problems down the line. This is important that we don't pass it. And here's why. And he pretty much laid it out to those 4 reasons. And of course, people say, well, that's just Brian Armstrong protecting Coinbase. Listen, this bill affects us all, I'm pretty sure. So yes, he may be doing the thing for number 1, the ban on stablecoin yield. He wants to get that yield. He wants the company to get the yield, but this affects everybody. So we're all in the same boat, and it makes strange bedfellows, and that's just pretty much what it is. However, coming here, as far as like when Trump says it's a rug pull, that's not a rug pull. This is a rug pull. Your junk coin that you put out, called Official Trump, and for some reason reached 44 bucks. And that's over the max. That's from January 2025. Also, another rug pull is Melania token. Those are rug pulls. Now look, I like some of the things that Trump does. I don't like some of the things he does. This is one of those things. It annoys the hell out of me because it should never have been done. And he really set us back by doing this thing. Now, there's other things he's done that I like, and it's just how it is. I remain balanced. But don't call something a rug pull when it's not a rug pull. Those are rug pulls. And to finish up, and I'll get off my soapbox, I apologize. This is Mike Novogratz. I've always respected Mike. He's got some pretty good outlook. And I mean, he's in those upper echelon that we will never touch. And it was interesting to see what he talked about as far as crypto regulation and the Clarity Act. And again, I don't think it's going to be passed, especially with the midterms, especially with the Democrats and how they're fighting Trump and the administration. And of course, the U.S. Senate Banking Committee is spearheaded. Unfortunately, the senior ranking member will be Elizabeth Warren, even though Tim Scott is the chair. Because of that, I find it very difficult to believe it's going to pass. But what Mike said makes a lot of sense. So just take a listen to this. It's about a couple minutes.
Yeah, listen, this is an issue that the banks have brought up, and they have an amazing lobbying army. Right. So they have come down, and one of the reasons the bill is stalled is the banks are saying, oh my goodness.
Hear that?
If you go to JP Morgan right now, or Bank of America, or any of the big banks, you put money in a savings account, you get about 11 basis points.
Hold on. Can everybody hear when Mike is talking? Because my speakers won't put it out. Maybe it's because it's routed through something differently than what you can hear. So let me make sure that you can actually hear that so I don't waste everybody's time for 3 minutes moving forward. Put that in the chats so I can actually see it. Pretty sure Coinbase doesn't vote. We don't need the Clarity bill. The U.S. needs the Clarity bill. Ah, great. You guys can hear. Sorry about that. My speaker is busted. Take a listen.
Or 1 basis point. So the banks are making a tremendous amount of money, holding our savings and depositing at the Fed at 3.5%, 4%. They worry that stable coins could have deposit flight. The reality is,
but just to be clear, they worry if stable coins are allowed to effectively accrue interest or some other kind of points or other things, that there would be deposit flight. That is right now. That's the central issue because they're not allowed to technically yet.
Yes. Or the banks would have to raise their interest, pay the consumer maybe a fair rate, and make less money, right? That like, it's so interesting. Whenever you have a new technology that's disruptive, the incumbents say, no, we don't want to give up our monopoly. They are using community banks as a shield, saying, oh my God, it's just be deposit plates from community banks. The reality is, if people wanted to move out of community banks at low interest rate, they could move to SoFi or tons of the neobanks that already offer much better deposit rates. Deposits are sticky. There will be deposit plate that will happen slowly. Stablecoins are mostly a way of U.S. projecting power to the rest of the world. Right? Stablecoins are used overseas, and if you don't allow some interest or some mechanism to generate interest on stablecoins, you're going to continue with this monopoly where Tether has the majority of overseas stablecoins, and so hard to compete with the incumbent unless you can, offer something different. I do think that there will be a compromise on this. I don't think it will be great for crypto, but I think it'll be fine. And for me, I just keep saying, we got to get this bill passed so we can move on and the industry can start growing. And if it's not perfect, who cares? We'll fix it in time.
Yeah, and I'll take it. That's a pretty good response from Mike. I do like that part where he's talking and saying, like, look, let's just get it passed because we have issues right now, and then we'll fix it later. My question to you is that a good strategy, or should we wait for a better bill? Remember, once these bills go through, very hard and difficult to change it. It's difficult enough just to get it passed through the first time. So let me know in the comment section what you think about that, because I got to tell you, I'm not for sure that is the greatest strategy, especially the other parts. Or does it really even matter? And it's all about number and go up. Anyhow, let me know in the comment section. And lastly, NEXUS. This is NEXUS. And we actually talked about this layer 1 solution about a month ago or so. And as a quick reminder, it was a sponsored video. Did I say it was a sponsored video? It was a sponsored video. Listen to this. Listen to this. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday live stream. So there's some things to go over, and we're going to talk about a new project called NEXUS. Now, before we go any further, I have to make things 100% clear to everybody. This is a sponsored video. This is a sponsored video. Did I mention this is a sponsored video? Right. It was a sponsored video, so everybody can get that. So what I did was I actually talked to Daniel and said, hey, man, I'd like you back on the show because I like what I see. Apparently, as I'm doing this, I am using the resources from my computer to add to compute. And there are some points being accumulated in the background as I do this. And I wanted him to come on and explain some things as far as an update. Now, this is not a sponsored video. This is not a sponsored video. I wanted Daniel back on because I wanted to talk to him about what was happening with NEXUS. Let's take a listen to this. This is about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll finish up with a little Q&A. And off we go. I wanted to bring Daniel back and talk about NEXUS and just to see what was going on. Now, I have been using the website and have signed up and everything else, and I just wanted to go over some things with Daniel. So, Daniel, welcome back to the show for the second time.
Thank you, Rob.
Yes, sir. Hey, so real quick, so everybody knows this, and we're totally transparent. So the first time this was a sponsorship, and this next one is not. So I want to tell everybody this is not a sponsorship. This is not a sponsor. This is not a sponsored video. I'm probably going to invest in a NEXUS. I like what Daniel's doing, and I want to bring this to the forefront. So Daniel, let's do this. I know your time is valuable. Yes, let's just do this. Catch us up to speed for the people that didn't watch the original video. I'll link the original video in the description. Tell us what NEXUS is, and then I'd like you just to walk us through about contribute compute in one click, and what kind of points have I been accumulating all this time in the background. So let's start with the basics.
Totally. So yeah, first of all, thank you for the nice words, Rob. Really appreciate it. Yeah. So NEXUS is a layer 1 built for a future of verifiable finance. That's what we call. And it's a future where finance is fully proven, composable, and programmable. Our origins come from Stanford University, actually, where we were working on zero knowledge cryptography. And we had this vision of building a next generation layer 1 that was both horizontally and vertically scalable, thanks to the advancements of zero knowledge proofs. But importantly, that it would be very practical from like a business purpose, and that it would house It would include various financial engines directly embedded within the layer one, right? And so our flagship financial engine is the Nexus exchange, which was recently announced a few months ago, which is a perpetuals exchange that aims to feature assets such as equities, commodities, forex, crypto, indices, so on and so forth. This is the Nexus exchange, but it's powered by the Nexus blockchain. And the Nexus blockchain, as mentioned, utilizes computing power to scale the blockchain through zero knowledge proofs. And then the window that you were looking into is our flagship way of having users interact and contribute to the project, which is by allowing people to supply computing power from pretty much any device at home, right? Or even professional devices as well, right? So this includes laptops, tablets, GPU rigs, web servers on Google Cloud, so on and so forth. You can connect your computer device to the Nexus network, and the Nexus network simply assigns tasks and jobs to your computer to perform. And then you are rewarded with points, right? With Nexus points. A reminder that Nexus is still pre-mainnet, right? We are about to launch mainnet. So this is a pre-mainnet, essentially incentive campaign where we reward users with points. And thankfully, we have had today over 3 million users around the world. And you can take a look at the map over there. Yeah, if you click in the app, you can see all the nodes that have been connected over, I believe, the past month. And these are users around the world that connect their devices and supply computing power to the Nexus network, right? That's pretty much it. You can see that a large part of our activity is actually in APAC, in the APAC region, as well as in Europe.
Yeah. Hey, I don't see my one computer here in Puerto Rico, but that's okay. I'm gonna let that slide. So this is looking pretty good. And then, as I remember last time that we talked, because we were saying, like, I thought it was great, is that you essentially are like, if I wanted to open up like a DEX, or I want to do kind of like open interest, or I want to do something, I can just create that on top of Nexus, and essentially that's how it would work out. So like just real quick, can you go over that as a reminder?
Yeah, exactly. So Nexus is an unusual blockchain, different from almost all the other blockchains that you've seen before, because it's comprised of two parallel machines. One is the EVM, and the other one is what we call Nexus Core. And so Nexus Core is somewhat similar to the dual machine separation of Hyperliquid, right? Hyperliquid has Hyper EVM and Hyperliquid, right? So here at Nexus, we also have the Nexus EVM and Nexus Core. And Nexus Core houses special purpose financial engines. And so, answering your question, what that means for developers on Nexus is that if you're deploying on the EVM, you can utilize the engines that have been built at Nexus Core, that have been built specifically for certain financial applications, right? With the first one being the Nexus Exchange, right? And Nexus Exchange is comprised of a few components, right? The order book, risk management, liquidation primitives, and all of them live in Nexus Core. And therefore, your applications on Nexus EVM can build normal EVM applications, as well as leverage the high performance libraries within Nexus Core. So it's this combination of general purpose computing and special purpose computing that we hope will advance the field.
Man, that's crazy. Okay, Daniel, I got you. Thanks. That explained, that helps me to remember the things. So like I said, I know your time is valuable. I want to give just people a quick update. That was great. There's two questions I have, and then we'll get out of here. First of all, you said mainnet. When are we talking about? Are we talking about Q1, Q2, Q3?
Q1. Currently,
Q1.
it was communicated Q1. Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. And then this last thing is, I have this set up. When I go to the website, I click on Connect to Nexus. I go to Nexus over here. I sign up, and I put in my MetaMask wallet. And now I'm just collecting these points as things are moving on in the background, compute, generating ZK proof. real quick, what's happening here? What am I getting with these points?
Good question, right? So you are getting points as a reward for your computational work, right? So your machine is doing work as you speak. In fact, if you utilize a more professional machine, because this is the UI version, there's also like the server version for like more like pro developers. You can fully utilize your computing resources, and your computer would actually start getting hot out of the computations that it's doing. And so these points reward you for the work that you're doing in running these computations. These computations are helping the blockchain scale, right? Helping validate the blockchain. This is how there are validators on Ethereum that validate the Ethereum blockchain, and NEXUS compute nodes as well as validator nodes, but we don't have to get in the weeds. Both contribute to the validation of the blockchain, right? And therefore you get rewarded with points. So points right now, Rob, what's been communicated is that points are the core incentive mechanism through the NEXUS testnets, right? But it hasn't been officially communicated what will happen with points at mainnet, right? And so hopefully that will come out later.
Gotcha. Smart way to do things. We don't want to give. We want to overpromise. We want to over-deliver and under-promise, that type of thing. So
that is right.
Yeah, Daniel. So that was it for today. I just want to bring you in just to kind of get everybody up to speed of what's going on. Thanks so much. As time goes on, I'd like to bring you back, but that'll be later. So everybody, links in the description. You can find everything we just talked about. Daniel, thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay, so again, thanks, Daniel. I appreciate it. And one more time, first one, it was a sponsored video. It's not sponsored, probably going to invest into it. And I just feel like this is what some of the times to take a look at other projects that are out there. It's a very contrarian view to talk about other projects because everybody is so hyper-focused on Bitcoin. Bitcoin will take care of itself. The market will take care of itself. I got no problems with that. I'm just trying to take a look at what else is out there. And that's it for today. So look, if you like today's video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing when we talk about it. It's time sensitive. Now let's get into a little Q&A, answer all your questions best of my abilities, and we'll go from there. Sue, let's see. J. Steve says, and, you know, it's true. Also, no Bitcoin strategic reserve, no Epstein files released. This admin has been a failure in every possible way. Oh, it's been I can't say it's a failure for everything. I know people who hate Trump will say that, and this isn't a geopolitical channel. And as soon as I say the word Trump, people freak out. So I'm just going to leave it as that. I will just say this. There was, as far as like the Bitcoin strategic reserve, the promise was that they wouldn't take Bitcoin, put it in the balance sheet, and then sell it. And one of those actually happened with the Samurai Wallet guys. Unfortunately, they went to prison for writing code. I think that was 100% wrong. But this is Patrick Witt. He is the executive director, President's Council of Advisors for Digital Assets. And people asked him like, hey, you guys confiscated, I think it was only like 55 Bitcoin from these guys, which is a lot. But on the grand scheme of things, it's peanuts. And he states, update, we've received confirmation from the Department of Justice the digital assets forfeited by Samurai Wallet have not been liquidated and will not be liquidated per blah, blah, blah. They'll remain on the USG balance sheet as part of the strategic Bitcoin reserve. So at least there's that part going for it. And yeah, there's different ways you can say, I support this administration or I hate this administration. But as far as like Bitcoin, the strategic reserve, very underwhelming, that's for sure, but at least they're not selling a bunch of them. Although I do wonder, there was a story a couple months ago about the Department of Justice, but that's for another day. All right. And then Jay Steve says, right. Yeah, right, there's no fix it later button. There's no way. Yeah, once things go into, unfortunately, the government, they pass things, it's very difficult to change course. And when has government ever fixed it later? When has government ever stepped back? I think it was Ronald Reagan who talked about the most permanent job is a government job because those never go away. And I think that's pretty much true. Let's see. Ryan says, they did free Ross Ulrich, Silk Road. That's the only promise that mattered. The rest is BS. Yeah, sure. And bear market numbers. Yeah, you said Trump. And Vivid's right. You don't go to prison for writing code. You shouldn't go to prison for writing code. I know some people say, well, there was these posts where they talked about dark web and using it for cartels. Like, look, I talk about using things for cartels. It's the subject matter and it's the context of what you're talking about. So like, I get that argument, but it doesn't make any sense, because if you just step out of your hamster wheel and just look at the whole picture, you'll understand it. It's kind of like all the videos that you see on X these days. Seems like you got one small 15-second clip, and then of course everybody's enraged. Then you watch the full like 30-minute version, you're like, oh, that's why that happened. Got it. Yeah, let's see. Very funny, Ben. Ben, what were we talking about? Oh, I got to get a hold of you about this AI thing. First of all, I got to tell you guys, as far as like AI and such and what's going to gobble up everything, take a look at this. So this is that website that I built using Google AI. And just today, someone made a recommendation. They said, you know what would be great? I got to put this away so you can't see it. They said, wouldn't it be great if you could have like an AI agent just talk to people about what's going on, what's adoptable, how they can donate? I said, sure, I'll do that. I'll put it in today. One very simple thing to do. And now, actually, let me show you. Let me see if I can show this to you. Okay. Hey, can you hear me?
Hi there.
Oh,
Yes, I can. Loud and clear. How can I help
you? You guys
you?
can hear it. I just can't. Hey, what kind of dogs are available? I'm looking for a dog that's a little bit older and has reasonable house training.
That's wonderful. We have a couple of sweet seniorish Satos who would love to find a quiet home. Cutie,
Okay,
for
great.
example.
Thanks. I'll check that out. And then what about, can I donate something? Or actually, is there anything else I can do to help you guys out?
Absolutely. We always appreciate donations, but we also have fantastic volunteer opportunities. This Saturday at 8 a.m. is our...
I mean, you get the idea. So the whole thing is like, when you take a look at AI and what is available to do, I hope everybody could hear that. It just makes a lot of sense that that's going to gobble up the whole world. I don't know how to code. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. I'm pretty good at sales, but I'm actually pretty good at moving people in the right direction to help other people out. So like with that website, what was able to do, and just to put in like an AI agent like that, how many crypto products have been promising that from the freaking beginning? I did that in 30 seconds. And that's how big Google and AI are going to move. So
it sounds like you have some really valuable skills to offer.
Yeah.
Helping people move in the right direction is just like finding the perfect home for our Satos.
Sounds like Dr. Pimmel. Yeah, it did. That was actually one of the voice selections that I could use. Well, not the same one, but kind of like that. All right.
That's very interesting.
I'm not... Depends on the code.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I answer everybody's questions. That's great. Hey, if you'd like to donate to that shelter, I'll leave the link in the description. But yeah, they got like 56 dogs. Then the other compound that they use have under 150. So donations are welcome if you're in profit. And that's about it. All right, buddy. So thanks so much for stopping by. Appreciate you. Like today's video, thumbs up, subscribe. That is it. And I'll see you guys on tomorrow's video when we have Jerry on and we'll talk about whatever the heck is going on. See you. Good day.